Hi, cat. Come and get some mango, baby.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Self-awareness is a superpower. My name is KathyLaDonna. Welcome to Soul and Vibration. I hope the free thinkers are doing well. And if you're not doing well, I'm happy to remind you that you are the most powerful person that you know. You are the most powerful person that you know because only you can create your reality. Hey guys, today is Sunday, May 18th, and the energies in the day adds up and reduced to number 5 vibration. If today is your birthday, happy birthday. The spirit guidance associated with today's energy is Otter, and the Otter comes out in the reversal position. In the upright position, the Otter brings me to our emotions. It brings me to emotional awareness, and it also brings me to community. So there's something around emotions and something around community whenever I see the Otter energy. And with it coming out in the reversal position, it will bring me to a person forgetting that it bring me to a situation where someone might be going through something where they are either reflecting on, say, separating themselves from a community or forgetting that they have the support of a community. One or two. It's like someone could be going through something today and they feel like they got to go through it alone when really there are communities out there of other like minds where they could find support. Or someone today might be reflecting on something and they're questioning if it's time for them to part ways and separate from the community that they associate themselves with. Either way, there's big emphasis around community. And with today's energy, today being the 18th, 1 plus 8 is 9. So something does come to an end today. And with the energies in the day adding up and reducing to the number 5 vibration, the number 5 brings in change. It brings in sudden and unexpected energy, but it's not really sudden and unexpected. It's just that our focus was over there while things were happening over there, and it may have appeared to catch us off guard. With the day being the 18th, the 8 aspect of the day for me brings me to Saturn energy. And when I think about Saturn energy, like I think of how, like, say Saturn deals with familiarity. And when I think of the word familiarity, I think of family, or things that are familiar to us, and how familiarity will feel safe even when it's destructive. I think about, say, someone coming to the realization with the Otter energy coming out that they need to separate themselves from something, whether it's a group, whether it's a community, whether it's a family dynamic. And the 1 plus 8 is 9, there's something around some kind of ending, and the path is all about change or some sudden unexpected change coming in. But with the number 9 being created by the number 8, that number 9 is going to have a hard time letting go. It's like all numbers ain't created equal. And the number 9 on a whole, it deals with endings. But when it's created by the number 8, 1 plus 8 creating 9, that person's going to have a hard time letting go. I think of, like, say, most people who are born on the 18th could find themselves like having a hard time walking away from a community, a neighborhood, or even a family dynamic. I think of with the number 18 being present today, how some of us could, I think of this number, how it could reflect how we could allow ourselves to become comfortable in toxic environments or situation because the people are people we've known for a long time. I think of how we'll look at how long we've been in a relationship opposed to the quality of the relationship. I think of how someone will brag about how long they've been friends with someone or how long they've been in the relationship when most of the years in it have been toxic, have been depressing, have been bad. And it's like, instead they're, bragging on how long it's been, but it's been long, but has it been good? And I feel like when it comes to today's energy, that's something to think about. It's been long, but has it been good? and we'll talk about how, you know, blood is thicker than water. And I don't remember how the scripture goes, but I heard that it's actually not what we think, where the scripture, someone will have to, you know, share it in the comment, because I'm sure someone here knows, where it's really the water is thicker in this. I guess what I'm thinking of is, you know, we're born into certain environments and we don't get to choose it, but we can choose the kind of family we want to have, the kind of people we want to make families. Just because we're born into certain environments, just because we're born into certain families, doesn't mean that needs to be, you know, that's the end of it, especially if it's somewhere you're not happy at. Like, something came across my feed yesterday when I was watching a video on YouTube, and today you don't know what is real from what's not. But there was a story about this girl who, her family claimed that they put a police report out and put that she was missing a few years ago. But the person who was doing the video did their research, and the family never put a police report out, but someone in the family claims they did. But anyways, it seems as if this girl may have run off and said deuces and left her family behind. And someone in the family, you know, put a post out on Facebook saying she's missing, and created this whole drama. And, you know, I was observing the situation and looking at it on both sides, because they were trying to say she was in like a get out type of moment, where she was in a situation where she was brainwashed or whatnot. But I could see it on both sides, where, yeah, maybe she did get caught up in some kind of situation where she ended up in a cult and they're brainwashing her and keeping her there. But then I could also see a situation where she decided that, you know, she didn't want to be bothered with her family no more, and she left. And she left, and, you know, I could see how, you know, the people in the family are saying all that they're saying publicly, meaning they're telling each other, we're worried, we don't know where she is. But then when you looked into it, they never filled out a police report. So it's like, how concerned were they really when they never filled out a police report? And one of her family members reached out to her, and I guess recorded her conversation to put on Facebook to let everybody know she's not missing and she's okay. But I just think of certain situations, how some of us could be a part of certain dynamics where it's like, you know, the people in our lives think that they own you to a certain extent, where, you know, certain people want to keep you around just to abuse you, just so you could play the role that makes them feel like they're better and you're less than. And in her situation, I could have seen it both ways. I could have seen her, you know, being tired of the drama and the messiness of the family, because, you know, when I was watching the video, I went into the comments, and the comments always provide different perspectives and ways of seeing it. And someone in the comment was saying how, just like her, they got away and whatnot. And the person in the comment was talking about how, you know, they didn't actually put out a police report, and how they describe her as bougie and this and that and the next and whatnot. And they were just relating to her and relating to how they left and they disappeared, and saying that, you know, she chose to not be found. She chose to disappear. And someone else was chiming in and saying, you know, another family member mentioned that she left on her own because the family, you know, she had the family and her, things weren't going well and she left or whatnot. But just to draw attention to themselves, they made this big thing on Facebook as if they care and as if she's missing. And in some cases, you know, made a thing on Facebook to kind of like clown her situation or shame where she's at. And of course, some people projected onto her situation. And the people in the comments made a valid point in the sense that because some people didn't grow up in a family dynamic like hers, they might be shocked to think of how she could just, you know, walk away and not look back or not reach out to anybody. But the person in the comment was saying how common it is for people to actually grow up in that kind of dynamic where they walk away, you know, and don't feel like looking back just because, you know, just because they're related to this group of people. And I feel like that person had a valid point. And that point for me stood out in such a big way where I think of, like, say, the person that might be in a certain family dynamic, but they're too ashamed to speak on it or let anybody know about it because what they see on TV or social media doesn't seem anything like that. So to even say that that's what they're going through or that's what they're a part of, that might be embarrassing to them. So they keep that to themselves. So I think of how through movies and marketings and things of that nature, how certain things are presented to us as, this is what the household look like. This is what this or that's supposed to look like. And if our situation don't look like that, some of us could feel ashamed. I think of like the person that might not have a good relationship with their mom, might feel like their mom is their biggest op in competition with them, jealous and whatnot. And I've seen a situation where someone shared something like that and someone got defensive saying, like in defense to the mom that the person was talking about, because maybe in their mind, they can't see a mom like that, but someone out there do have a mom like that. People do have experiences like that. And then I could see how in certain cases, certain people will defend positions, but don't realize they're defending themselves. Most of the times when we defend positions, if not all the time, but I think most of the times when we're defending positions, we're probably defending ourselves. Or in some cases, we're defending our reality, wanting our reality to be the universal reality when that's just not the case. So when it comes to today's energy, to me, it brings me to some sudden and unexpected change in some kind of, say, relationship. It could be a family dynamic. It could be a partnership, but there's some kind of change in a relationship dynamic and it seems sudden and unexpected. But there is one aspect of us questioning, like, should I stay or should I go because of the whole familiar aspect of it, while there's something else pulling us away from that thing. And with the moon in Aquarius today, Pluto conjuncts that moon. So with Pluto conjuncting the moon, the inner world is in a space where it's okay with the ending. It has to be. It's okay with the ending because Pluto is all about that. With Pluto also in retrograde, we're reflecting on our relationship dynamics. We're reflecting on our connections. And we can't lie to ourselves about the truth of what something is. But yeah, I just think to myself how, different people go through different things. And because, we see family should look a certain way, there's a lot of people suffering in silence when it comes to certain things that they go through with people that they shouldn't go through it with, because, society says a mom should be like this, a dad should be like this, auntie should be like this, uncle should be like this. And we're going by these movies and things that we see when that's not everybody's reality. And I think about people who do share their reality, like the situation where I think it was a blog or podcast or something, and a lady was sharing her situation with her mother. And, someone else was like very defensive in response to the mother saying, like the defensive as if it's impossible for a mom to be like that when, mothers are people too. People are people and people go through things, or some people, have been through things and never took the time to get the proper help for what they've been through, or maybe at the time didn't have any tools or help to guide them through what they've been through. And that's where hurt people continue to hurt people. So, this energy in today brings in some opportunities for some change. Like today, Jupiter squares the North Node and also Saturn. So Jupiter squares Saturn and also the North Node. So with Jupiter energy is in Gemini. So to me, there's something that we're becoming aware of, or we're knowing information that's coming in that makes it feel like creates this challenge when we're reflecting on destiny pertaining to, say, North Node and Pisces conjunct Saturn, destiny in relation to some creative endeavor or spiritual path. So some creative, spiritual, or healing path. There's something about that's being challenged with Jupiter and Gemini. I think of some of us feeling like we need to be more practical when it comes to certain things. But Jupiter does sextile Chiron. So with Jupiter creating a sextile to Chiron, Chiron is in Aries. Aries energy is ourselves as individual. Chiron is a collective wound that we're all dealing with when it comes to our ambition, our identity, or how we're seen. That's where we'll all watch a video and we can resonate in some way. Or I think of me sharing the girl that was missing, and in the comments there were some people, basically justifying why the girl would disappear, and that she clearly is choosing to stay away and is not being manipulated or a part of a cult as to why she's staying away. And, I think of how sometimes, because based on where we are or what we've been through, we could project onto someone's situation and see it as something that it's not, because we don't relate or we don't understand. But with Chiron in Aries, positively aspecting Jupiter and Gemini, the sextile Chiron in Aries is making to Jupiter in Gemini, to me would bring me to this conversation. And having a hard conversation like this, or talking about something challenging. And today would be a day where people could get together in groups, and people who could relate or resonate or within that frequency because they've had the experience, or they're aware of the truth within a thing. Because like I said, sometimes we could fight against certain people's experiences because, number one, maybe it challenges us in certain way, challenges our realities in certain way. Maybe it calls out some of our truths that we're refusing to own within ourselves. Why, I believe whenever we're defending a cause, we're really defending ourselves. I feel like with today's energy could reflect like a group of people getting together and having those hard conversations about wounds that we all are dealing with on a collective level. So when it comes to the tarot, we have the Wheel of Fortune. And I love that the Wheel of Fortune comes out, because even with the Otter energy, as it might seem like something challenging comes out when it comes to our support system, or not being able to see a support system, the Wheel of Fortune reminds me that we're always on the right path, regardless of how things may seem. Always on the right path, meaning I think of like, say, something happens and someone stumbles across a video, and the video is talking about something that they're going through. And for them to be able to see that they're not alone, they are not the only one that has this weird family dynamic going on, and they don't have to feel shame about it, that is actually more normal than they think. I think of how that could give a person permission to put themselves first, to choose themselves, and not feel guilty about wanting to walk away, but not wanting to because it's like we're blood, that type of energy. So when I think of the Wheel of Fortune in the mix, I think of, it's like this thing came in, and it came in out of nowhere, like the day adding up to number 5 vibration. The sudden and unexpected thing comes in out of nowhere, but really it was a blessing. It was a blessing because for a lot of us, we need permission. And it's not that we need permission because we're weak and we're small and all this other stuff. I mean, look at the way how we were raised as far as school and being graded, and we were conditioned or programmed in a way to keep us in line. So as we're stepping out of line or waking up ourselves and unlearning certain things, we do need permission to a certain extent when it comes to certain things. That's just naturally, part of how we've been programmed. So when it comes to today's energy, it feels like good permission though. Someone validating or something validating, showing someone that you're not alone or you're not wrong, or, you're not alone or you're not wrong. Don't beat yourself up, or don't make yourself guilty for feeling whatever it is that you're feeling. I love though that the moon conjunct Pluto is positively speaking to Neptune and Aries, which conjunct Saturn in Pisces. I love that Saturn is a part of the mix, because to me, Saturn slows things down so we don't just get lost in our imagination, in our illusion, in our delusions and things like that. And when I think of Uranus conjunct the Sun and Taurus, both at 27 degree, Uranian energy is futuristic energy, but it's rebelling energy, and we rebel by realizing what no longer works. So we want to be innovative by, getting rid of what no longer works. And I love how that's speaking to Moon conjunct Pluto, where we're being honest about what no longer works, and we want radical change when it comes to things that we consider to be stable. Like, say, Sun and Taurus, familiar things like Uranian energy, there is radicalizing that. Like, this can't continue to be the stable way of being. We want something different because it doesn't work anymore. Where Mercury at 14 degrees in Taurus is squaring that same moon conjunct Pluto in Aquarius and Mars in Leo. And I feel like the square that Mercury is doing in Taurus, I think of the person who, say they're so good at acting like certain things don't happen. And I remember watching this psychic live, and she's so funny sometimes. And I remember she was talking about certain things that go on with children and certain things that go on in households. And someone in the comment said something like, made it seem like, why is she being so negative talking about that? And she went off on them. She went off on them and was telling them, like, it's people like you that probably, would cause your kids to be in your home getting raped and this, that, and the next. And she just went off. And I feel like she had a valid point in the sense that when I think of Mercury and Taurus, when we try to keep things so pleasant and avoid the dark and the hard conversations, sometimes we could be, that could cause for things to happen because we're acting like certain things aren't happening, because we don't want to deal with the dark and the ugly things. So because we don't want to deal with the dark, the scary, and when I say dark, the things that are kept hidden, because we don't want to deal with those things, we're allowing them to happen because we're turning a blind eye, because we don't want to deal with confrontation. We don't want to deal with the problems that comes with telling the truth or bringing something to the light. I think of, the family that will keep things a secret, bad things a secret, because they don't want to mess with the family's reputation. And when I think of the T-square that's being made, that's what I get with that energy. But today's energy feels like some sudden and unexpected thing brings certain things to light. And of course, there's a part of us that, don't want to, mess up the reputation, or don't want to, with where Mercury is, it's like a part of us, naturally want to avoid the uncomfortable conversations. We want to more dwell in the Venusian type things. Instead, we want to speak about how good things are, even if that's not the case. Let's pause for a bit. I am proud of the services that I offer and excited to tell you about them. If it would be your first time booking with me, then I recommend the natal chart and numerology awareness coaching session. For a while, that was the only service I offered, along with the 30 minutes tarot reading, which is still available if you're interested. I noticed a pattern. At the end of the natal chart and numerology coaching sessions, some of you would ask me for a follow-up service options for additional clarity and guidance to assist you with whatever you're going through at the moment. I kept saying, I'll look into it. I don't know why it took me so long. Finally, I have created that option along with the service option to book a solar return chart reading for those of you who are strategic and like to plan ahead. Everything you need to know is within the description box below. Let's get back into the video. We want to focus on, the comforts, the material side of things, opposed to, being honest. And where the moon is conjunct Pluto, you got to be honest even if you don't want to be. So when it comes to today's energy, I could see some of us, with the moon conjunct Pluto and the T-square, some of us could be dealing with that uncomfortable energy because there's something that needs to be said. There's a conversation that needs to be had, and we're battling ourselves as to, whether we're ready to deal with what comes with telling the truth. But, when it comes to today's energy, like I said, sudden and unexpected energy. And when change needs to happen, no matter how we fight, kick, scream, it's either we welcome the change or we allow the change to drag us. But, when it comes to, say, a day like today, I love to bust my journal out and reflect on what it is that I'm feeling and be honest about my truth in a thing. And I also ask myself, what am I afraid of? When it comes to what I'm dealing with today, what am I afraid of? Because there is fear around letting something go. And like I said, we're looking at seniority, we're looking at blood, we're looking at how long we've been a part of a thing, when the thing probably ain't no good and it's time to let it go. Or maybe some hard conversations need to be had so this thing could evolve to the next level. So the relationship could get better, more intimate, more honest. That opportunity though will only come from saying the hard things, dealing with the hard truths. Pleasure sharing this message with you. Before you go anywhere, drop me a blue heart in the comment box below. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Love yourself as if your life depended on it, because it does. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.